The New South Wales Government has agreed to waive stamp duty on all new electric vehicles, saving buyers up to $5,500. The new law applies to battery, electric and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles up to $78,000. With that, we're joined by the globetrotting Stephen Fenech, editor of Tech Guide. Fenno, how are you, my dear friend? Let's get to that subject, but we'll start with this one. Google has appealed to Apple to improve messaging between iPhone and Android.
Good morning, Tim. This is a campaign actually that Google has launched. Anyone, you and your viewers, anyone who's got an iPhone will know that the messages that come between iPhones are blue. And if there is a message that comes in from an Android user, it comes in as green. So this is how it's because Apple and Google use different messaging systems. And so iMessage is secure end-to-end. It gives you high quality attachments, gives you read receipts, also gives you the warning when someone's typing back to you. But that doesn't happen when you're communicating iPhone to Android. So what Google is trying to get to convince Apple to do is to adopt the latest RCS, Rich Communication Services. And this will enable those sorts of features and security to be available between Google and iPhone users. Now, Apple has built up quite a system with iMessage. Those blue bubbles are quite strong, and there's been cases where people have been people looking down at their nose at green bubbles in a blue conversation. There's even been cases of women on dating apps turning away from men who are green bubbles instead of iPhone blue bubbles, would you believe? So what Google want to do, though, at the end of the day, is to make it easier for everyone. Google claims that Apple's using old technology from the 90s and the 2000s when there is a crossover between iPhone and Android, and they're hoping to sort of have this message equality, if you like, to make it easier and a higher quality experience across both platforms.
Well, tell us a little bit more about this stamp duty story, because everyone pricks their ears when they hear, oh, we're going to drop stamp duty.
Well, it's for EVs, and this is a New South Wales Government initiative. So if you're buying a new or used EV in Australia under the value of $78,000, you will not be paying stamp duty. Now, if you're selling a used car, of course, there's stamp duty involved there, and you will also have that waived also. But the good news is, though, if you purchased your vehicle even last year, you can actually claim the stamp duty so you'll get that refunded. So it is backdatable. So this is meant to encourage drivers who are maybe considering an EV. At the moment, pricing of EVs may be slightly out of the reach of your average driver, but incentives like this, waiving your stamp duty, and as you said, up to $5,500 saving, this could mean the difference between a driver sticking with a petrol car or making the jump to an EV. And at under $78,000, there are a lot of choices when it comes to EVs. We're talking the Tesla Model 3, the Tesla Model Y, the Polestar 2, the MG ZS EV, the Atto 3 from BYD as well. So a lot of choices in this price range for customers to take advantage of the stamp duty and jump into the EV world.
What about Uber moving into healthcare?
Yeah, this is a move that is just been introduced in Australia. Uber, as you know, is the ride-sharing service. So you know it's kind of disrupted the taxi industry. But now they're introducing an Uber Health service that allows doctors to use a dashboard to organise transportation of their patients, either to their clinics or to and from hospitals. It's meant obviously designed for patients who can't make their own way to appointments and to and from hospitals. There is already actually state government initiatives where they do offer taxi vouchers for this exact thing. But Uber has decided to join into this, created a platform. I think that's the attraction for medical professionals. There is a platform that they can access that helps them organise their patient care, their patients arriving to their clinic for their appointments. There was some sort of concerns about the privacy and how a ride-sharing company maybe have access to medical records and things like that. Uber is adamant that their security is strong and that no leaks of any kind of information will ever happen, despite the fact that it has happened with the NDIS, and also South Australian Ambulance Service, I believe, had a data breach as well. But Uber insists that their security is top-notch and that nothing will get out, and only the information will be accessed by those involved, the doctors and the patients.
Well, on the subject of security, cyber security, and Apple have urged customers to upgrade their devices.
That's right. Yeah, this was a software update was released yesterday, and this is across all Apple products, so iPhone, iPad, Macs. What the problem was that someone had discovered there was a vulnerability in the WebKit, which is kind of the developer code beneath the Safari browser. That vulnerability would allow a user, someone to take full control, full admin control, they call it, of your device and install software and control it as if they were you. So Apple jumped on this pretty quickly and issued the update for iPhone, for iPad and Mac. So I suggest that anyone who has an iPhone, an iPad or a Mac, they run this update right away. The chances of the vulnerability affecting you is probably 1,000,000 to 1, but you just don't want to take that chance. That's the reason why these updates are regularly put forward. I know a lot of my readers and viewers also, they grumble when they got to do a software update, but it's for your own good. So I'd recommend that you do that update today. Apple were pretty quick to address it. They don't comment on any of these security issues until they've fixed it, and they say they have fixed it and that update is ready to go.
Well, let's simplify it for people watching this morning. How do they do it?
Yep.
Because that's part of the problem.
Sure, yeah. Well, what you do, you go to your settings. So if you're an iPhone user, for example, go to settings, go to general, and then there should be another choice, software update, and you should find 15.6.1. That's the software update you need to run. So go to your settings, and the same thing if you're on a Mac, go to your system preferences, and there should be a picture of a cogwheel, which is the settings area, and then you can then access that update. So if you're using Mac OS Monterey, you can update that straight away. And if you're on an iPad or an iPhone, iOS 15 is the software that you need to update as well. So they're sitting there waiting for you if you haven't already turned on auto updates. And I'd recommend actually for people to click on auto update. So whenever there is a software update, it is automatically applied.
All right, I've just done that on my phone as well. Now, changing subjects slightly, common sense prevailed in the end. You and I are both traditionalists. I want the Melbourne Cup at Flemington. I want the Everest at Royal Randwick. I want the AFL Grand Final in Melbourne, and I want the NRL Grand Final in Sydney, and I want it to stay there. I remember going to the SCG as a boy in the 70s, like you did. I want it to stay in Sydney.
Yeah, absolutely. I think tradition's important, and when it comes to things like the NRL and the AFL, and Peter V'landys' decision to keep the grand final in Sydney is great news. But I think he realises that he's got quite a hot property on his hands, where this event can be sold to the highest bidder, and the Super Bowl model that he mentioned is hugely successful in the US. It hasn't affected the popularity of the sport. But if it was up to me, I'm like you, Timmy. I would keep it in Sydney. It's kind of the heartland of the NRL. I know there are 4 Queensland teams up there in the NRL as well. But I think tradition is very important, and I would keep it in Sydney if it was up to me.
Yeah, I love the grand final, and everyone's got their own traditions in and around grand final day. It might be a sign of ageing as we get older. We like to lean on the things from the past. I don't want to mention it, but they should have won that game the other night, your mob.
Yeah, I know. It's one we let get away, but yeah, that's football, mate. Unfortunately, the ball didn't go our way. The bounce of the ball didn't go our way, but yeah, we've got another assignment next week when we take on the Cowboys, and then open up the new stadium against the Roosters the week after. Yeah,
I'll be at that game. That'll be an absolute cracker at the new Allianz Stadium. Stephen, I look forward to talking to you next week.
Likewise, thanks, Timmy.